Welcome to beautiful Miami, Florida. Actually, we're going to do you one better. Miami Beach, Florida. One of the most beautiful places in the United States. We just love it in Miami, and we've got something special today, something we've never done before, and we can't wait to take you along. What are we doing today, Miss Heather?
We are going to go on a duck cruise, a duck land cruise. It's so crazy because we get to cruise around the streets and into the water.
That's right, a duck. Do they call it a duck boat?
It's like a cruise boat, car, all in one.
It's a duck. Because ducks can walk on land and ducks can walk or swim in the water. Never mind. You get the point. We can't wait to do this tour. We can't wait for you guys to come along with us, and we cordially invite you to come along for the adventure.
Come along.
Here comes the duck. Quack, quack. Oh.
And don't get away. On the count of three. Smile, baby, you in Miami. 1, 2, 3. Smile, baby, you in Miami. Woo! Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It was a great time. Enjoy the rest of your day here in sunny South Florida.
We're about to get started on this beautiful, sweltering Thursday afternoon here in Miami Beach. I got one question for y'all. You guys ready to have a good time? Okay, pretty decent. Usually this is the part where I make fun of you guys for going, but you guys seem pretty energetic. But I do have to warn y'all about the #1 rule of having fun in Miami. It doesn't really count as having fun unless everyone around us is jealous of how much fun we're having. So I got one more question for y'all. You guys ready to have a good time? We'll work on it, guys. We'll work on it. My name is Ari. I'll be your tour guide for today. To my right are the amazing captains Antonio and Eli, brightly colored for your visualization. Let's give them a big round of applause, guys, for driving us around today. It is not easy driving this thing. We call him Vin Diesel, so buckle up, everyone. Just kidding, guys. Made you look. No buckles, but we do have some safety rules. Left-hand side, Ace Ventura Pet Detective. That's where Jim Carrey lived with his animals. You guys remember that? That's where his landlord was giving him a hard time. Now that's from the 90s, so relatively new history. If you look on your right side, you'll see older Miami history. This is Espanola Way. It's built to look like a Mediterranean village has been sliced out and put in the middle of our fair city. This school was built by the same person as that Espanola Way. Mr. Fisher, you saw on that sign, the Feinberg Fisher Center. Carl G. Fisher is the father of Miami. He is credited with giving this place the resources it needed to, and I'm quoting him, be a playground for the insanely wealthy. Do we think he succeeded in that goal? I guess we'll find out on this trip, won't we? See our beautiful city's panoramic view, then with our city's national anthem. You know what I'm talking about. It is still cool to like Will Smith on this duck, everybody. This is a safe space. Don't y'all worry about it. Now, have you guys seen a certain movie with a White House in it? I'm talking about the White House to your right. Do you see it? It looks like the White House. Inside that house, an actor said that practically untouched since that day. It's got a little bit of a little shack out there. The equivalent of a pimple on such a beautiful property, but hey, that's progress for you. Now, do you guys see that home with all the palm trees that are sticking out at an angle? Well, that is the personal estate, or should I say a personal estate, of Gloria and Emilio Estefan. You guys know them as Miami Sound Machine. Now, believe it or not, many of the mansions that you'll see, this is Star Island, so many of the ones on Star Island, Palm Island, Hibiscus Island, are actually owned by the Estefans. They are their guest homes, right? Some of us have a guest room, some of us have a guest hallway, they have guest mansions. Now that's not a boat or a house, that's something in the middle. That's a houseboat. Yes, that rectangle does go out on the water. It's called the Ark. I guess they are somewhat biblical in their thinking, you know, like Noah. You guys remember that story? Could you imagine riding out the end of the world in something like that? I certainly could. Be pretty comfortable. I don't know about 2 of every animal though. That one seems like a bit small for that. You guys can go to arkup.com, that's ARKup.com, to find out how you can take it out, but maybe you just don't have time on this trip, right, to take it out. You're just running from so many cool things, you don't have the time to get in there. Well, Netflix has you covered. Amazing Dream Vacation Rentals Season 1, Episode 3. That's a Netflix original show, and Season 1, Episode 3 will show you exactly what it's like to take that thing out on the water. And spoiler alert, it goes a little bit faster than you would think. I believe it was something around 400,000 people moving to Miami since COVID times. Y'all remember that, I'm sure. 400,000 people coming one way. That's not a seasonal snowbird flight, guys. That is our immigration process. People are coming here to Miami to live, and why wouldn't they? We can see all around us the beautiful inspiration, maybe, for the name Miami. Do you guys know what language Miami comes from? No, it's not Spanish. We do have a lot of Cuban culture here, but it is not of that language. No. Native American. Miami actually means big water. We can kind of see the inspiration for that around us, I think. I wonder what the Native American words for Star Island are. Don't think they had something like that in their time. Well, this is one of the islands that unfortunately us mere mortals cannot set foot on because we don't live or work there. Now, ownership here in Miami changes hands, but the most famous people to own and live in a house will forever stamp their name on that property. The most famous of that, of course, is the Versace mansion, which today has nothing to do with Versace. It just housed Gianni Versace in the I almost said 1900s, in the mid-90s, you guys, until he was, you guys remember what happened to Gianni Versace? If you don't, you can go to FX, American Crime Story, The Murder of Gianni Versace. He was killed on the steps of that property, and we will see that property later. But for example, that cream wall right there, behind there is a home belonging to, or used to belong to, Sean Combs. Do you guys know who that is? Puffy, P. Diddy. Been in the news recently. It's a weird day when P. Diddy turns out to be like the, the respectable one in the news cycle, but hey, new thing for everybody. Now inside there is something that everyone here can respect. A $2 million golden toilet. Because when you gotta go, right? That is, I believe, still in that property to this day, unless Mr. Combs took it as he moved out. Could you imagine? Packing all your boxes and like, oh, one sec, we forgot the $2 million golden toilet. Someone go back in and get it. Well, you guys are getting a little bit of a true Miami experience here. One word, starts with a T. You guys see it right now. Traffic. Every big city has that, of course. But this traffic almost is a blessing because we can have a beautiful view of the Royal Caribbean Cruise Ship Terminal. You can see it's called the Crown of Miami for a reason. It looks very House of the Dragon, especially when you see it from the front. And the Norwegian Pearl parked in front of the Norwegian Cruise Ship Terminal. Of course, we don't just build buildings here in Miami. Everything's an art project. Everything has artistic value on the architectural side. I forget the name of the artist that constructed or designed these two, but it is someone of fame. It's not just a nobody who wants to build, a place where people can get on the boats. No, it's a place for an exhibition of art and beauty. J-Lo?
Jenny from the Block.
Jenny from the Block, that's right. J-Lo and her boo at the time, Alex Rodriguez, actually built a house on my block. I'm not capping, guys, that's real. That house had batting cages inside property. Could you imagine that? Waking up in the morning, you have your shower, you have your coffee, your breakfast, then you go, all right, honey, I'm just gonna go in the office for a second. Batting cages at MLB style speeds. Now the next people that moved in had it ripped out because I guess if you're not A-Rod, you don't want batting cages. I would have been like, yeah, I'll take free batting cages. That would have been fun for all of 2 seconds, I'm sure. But that is the risk that you run living here in Miami, which is having celebrities move in. Not much of a risk, but then again, some of them do throw pretty wild parties, and some of you that like a quieter style may not be into some of that. Everybody take a look at you at 10 o'clock. Do you guys see that tall glass building? I would say it looks like mittens, but we don't really have mittens in Miami. It looks like an oven mitt or a hand sideways, and it looks a little bit rough. I'm talking, of course, of the rounded building. You see it looks different than all the ones around it. Now that building is rough because it's not complete yet. When it's complete, it will become the blank residences, okay? That's a car brand. Now we have several car brand related buildings here in Miami, such as the Bentley Tower and the Porsche Tower. The Porsche Tower was the first one to be here. Each of those towers, including this one being built, will have a private elevator for your car. Could you imagine that? You get to drive your car into the elevator and it takes it to your room. That's some Batcave type stuff, guys. That is really cool. And in that particular building, they're running a special deal. So people who are looking to buy a home, listen up. This one's for you. If you purchase a building above the 51st floor, you receive the vehicle that that building is named after. Now, I'm going to give you the answer once we're out on the water, but you guys can think about what kind of crazy car brand would be in that beautiful building right there. Private car elevator, free vehicle when you buy an apartment. It is not Tesla. No. That is correct. That was very quick. 10 points to Hufflepuff right there. The Aston Martin residences, guys. I wanted to let that sit for a little, but you're just too smart. You got it. Yes, if you buy an apartment above the 51st floor, you receive a free Aston Martin. That is the greatest buy one, get one in history, ladies and gentlemen. Could you imagine? We all just move in there like, oh, you got the white one? Nice, I got the blue one. That's cool. Maybe that's what they're waiting for. Big community like us to move in, take all their Aston Martins, maybe one day. You guys know this song, of course. No better way to start a beautiful cruise on the water. It was something nice and calm to remind us that we're floating away from all our problems out here, okay? We're leaving all of it on dry land. We're about to make it out into the Biscayne Bay. It's just gonna be us and Mr. Bob Marley, of course. Now, if y'all are ready to splash, let me hear you scream, woo! Splash. Welcome everybody to the beautiful Biscayne Bay.
What do you think, little lady?
It's exciting.
Now, as you can see, some of our boats are doing slightly better than the others. Don't worry about the boats that are in the water, guys. Those are just the tours that didn't tip the tour guide. You want to avoid the same fate, guys. Don't make the same mistakes. We would hate for any of you to get wet on your trip today. Now, the boats are pretty cool, but I will make a quick disclaimer, guys. I have never seen them personally on a tour. However, all of my coworkers have, so that means they don't like me. Who am I referring to, guys? A certain football team, Miami Dolphins. Yes, you may see some today. Make sure to call them out if you do, but only if you know that it's a dolphin, okay? We don't want to see any coconuts, floating logs, but we may see some dolphins and some manatees. My guess is it's a little bit late in the day for that, but you never know. There are some that live around here, so keep an eye out. We're here, much more my size, if you know what I mean. The boat is not mine, that's my friend's, but it says it looks impressive when it's in front of my house, so there we go. If only, right? If only. It's one of the cooler ones. I actually don't know who owns this one. Maybe they're looking to sell. Who knows? With your tips, we can make it happen, guys. Buy me a house, thank you. Now this smaller white one coming up, that is famous for who purchased it when they came from New Orleans to Miami. I'll give you two of their rap aliases. Maybe you guys will know who it is. Tunechi, Wheezy, Lil Wayne. This was one of Lil Wayne's first properties, if not the first property he bought here in Miami. But he didn't own it for very long. He actually just let the price go up and then made it someone else's problem. That's how the real estate game works here in Miami. You don't really want to live in these things. You just want that price to go up and then to make it someone else's problem. Their Grammy Award winner, Alicia Keys, has rented it a couple times. Got you there. Not quite a celebrity home, I'm sorry for the misdirection, but every time she stays here, she does stay in that home. So, if that doesn't make it the Alicia Keys home in Miami, I don't know what does. Now, Ms. Keys and Mr. Chan have done the same smart thing, which is rent property on the water facing the west side, because the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So they're gonna have an absolutely gorgeous view of that sunset over downtown Miami. Because let's face it, everybody wants to be on the beach, but who's up to see the sunrise? Not me. Definitely not. Of course, depending on the type of party that you decide to go to here in Miami, you may very well be up to see the sunrise. But for anyone who wants to see that beautiful sunset over the third tallest city in the United States, these houses are as good as any. But you're gonna see no shortage of beautiful ones. Like this one, guys. Check out this home right here. This is my home. Pretty cool, huh? I'm talking, of course, of the one that looks like the cross-section of a cruise ship. You see, it looks like a cruise ship has been sliced in half. It's one of the best parts about working here. I can just jump over and swim home. I'm joking, guys. That is not my home. It is too small. I would never. But it is a good representation of nautical Art Deco. I learned that word from SpongeBob myself, nautical nonsense. It means having to do with water and the ocean. So a lot of homes around here are built to look like boats, lighthouses, any sort of seafaring vessel. Now we have an interesting one right here. Check out that white home. It's hiding behind that bush. Maybe some of you that know Spanish language music, maybe we have a couple on board, maybe we don't, we're about to find out. Paulina Rubio. Paulina Rubio had that house built for herself and her husband. And if you take a look, I have genetically very bad eyesight, so I can barely see it. But if you look right now, between the trees, you'll see a thin black line going down the middle of the property, dividing the property into two equal halves, one for Paulina Rubio and one for her husband. Isn't that romantic, you guys? When we say move in together, that's exactly what we're thinking. You take that side of the mansion, I'll take that side, I'll see you in the morning. Well, that relationship ends the same way as the house.
For sale, it's got a real estate sign right there. Keller Williams.
By these islands, as I've mentioned, those islands are made at the bottom of the bay. So before these islands were completed, that's the 20s, the 30s, or should I say rather the end of the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, and into the 50s, one white wooden bridge would stretch across from where that blue and white condo is to where those skyscrapers are, making it, for about 3.5 decades, the longest wooden bridge in the world. Not quite today. Now it's the Venetian Causeway, named after Venice, Italy, of course. These are called the Venetian Islands as a result of that. Here in Miami, we're all about taking the best and most artsy parts of different cultures because this is a land of immigrants as well. Everybody here in Miami has come from someplace, you know. Including the person right to our left. This person's pretty famous. I say person, I mean property, guys. This is one of the first celebrity homes I want to show you on this water portion. It's the cream-colored home with brown roofs on top, and it's got 2 little trees inside. If you see a giant red gorilla, you've gone too far, guys. To the left of that, that home belongs to one of the first actors in Hollywood to do all of his own stunts. You guys know who I'm talking about? Here, Tom Cruise, Jim Carrey, not correct? I did hear the correct answer, that's correct. Jackie Chan, 10 points to Gryffindor. Right over there, guys, that is one of Jackie Chan's homes. I say one of, I mean the number 42. That is the room with the number right now. It could be a little bit more than that. See, the dog likes Jackie Chan. He just perked up when I said that. If you guys want to watch The Foreigner, Jackie Chan is running around drop-kicking people at 70 years old. Okay? That is absolutely incredible. He learned English on the set of Rush Hour. There's one really funny clip I like where he jumps out with the gun and he says, cheese! He hadn't quite learned the correct term, freeze, yet. Pretty funny video. And that is one of Jackie Chan's homes, but not all the time. It is available for rental. So you guys can live like Jackie Chan as well. Sit out here on the water and wave to duck tours as we pass by every day. That red home is the home of the heirs to the Fendi fortune. Fendi, the international high fashion brand, not Fenty, not Rihanna's brand, but Fendi, F-E-N-D-I. The young Fendis live in that property, the red one. That's why they got a new coat of paint. It's not a new house, but when they moved in, you know, you gotta make it your own somehow, right? This modern Miami art style home was built by a company that you may recognize. You guys are like, I don't know any construction companies. You may know this one. It was called A-Rod Construction. I actually did briefly mention him on this tour. Do you guys know who I'm talking about? Alex Rodriguez. He owned the construction company that built that home, and he lived in it with Cameron Diaz. That's 2 relationships ago? 4? 3? I lose count, you guys. Impossible to keep track these days. Now, any tennis fans may know this home right here. The brown roof with the white sides and that small white boat. Small is relative, but it's bigger than any boat I have. That's 0 boats, you guys. That is owned by Steffi Graf. Do you guys know who Steffi Graf is? International tennis player? Does anyone know who Steffi Graf is married to? Extra points. Andre Agassi. 10 points to Ravenclaw. Well done. Now for our next bit of musical trivia, you will see what I consider, just me, don't take my word for it, decide for yourselves, the most beautiful house on our tour. That's, again, just my opinion. You can see it's shaped like a steamboat, you know, something off the Mississippi River. It looks like it's gonna float away. That's exactly that nautical style we're talking about. Celia Cruz. Celia Cruz lived in that home until 2005, which is when she passed away, unfortunately. But her family still owns that property, making it the Celia Cruz home. All right, so we're not big Spanish music listeners, okay? Understandable. Maybe y'all are into some TV. Now, this particular show that the theme song is playing from, I was not a thought in my parents' mind when this show came on, but maybe some of y'all will remember it, and remember this white home. Anybody want to take a guess? Come on, some of y'all look like you may have enjoyed this show. That's not me calling you old, that's me calling me young. Anybody? Miami Vice, correct. Take away that round dome on top, and that is the Miami Vice home. It housed the series villain, Tony Amato, who was played by, anybody remember? I'll give you a hint, he has a lot less hair now than he did in that show. And that was his first big role in cinema, Bruce Willis. A young Bruce Willis, a very young and a very hairy Bruce Willis. Now, that home over there, the Celia Cruz home, is my personal favorite for looks. But when it comes to the price tag, there is no negotiation. There is only one home here that it can be accurately called the most expensive home, and it's right over here. Oh, this one right here? You may notice those 27 South African palm trees that rest on that property. Each one valued at approximately $10,000 a tree. $270,000 on trees, green thumb. Anybody else like gardening? I do. That belongs to Philip and Patricia Frost. Philip Frost is a billionaire dermatologist, and they are Miami's resident entrepreneurs. They recently gave the city of Miami $45 million to help build our new science center called the Philip and Patricia Frost Science Center. That is a great place to take kids if you guys are here with your families. That place has got aquariums, planetariums, all the ariums, they got it there. Now this white obelisk right here, I know you guys were dying to see a giant white obelisk on this trip, and now you have. It is on Memorial Island, another one of those artificial islands like Star Island, Palm Island, and all the Venetian ones. This memorializes one Henry Flagler. Those of you that paid attention in social studies class will know who that is. Not me, I learned about it on this tour. Mr. Flagler was in charge of, anybody remember? Railroads, that is correct. 10 points to Gryffindor, sir, well done. The railroad man, Mr. Flagler, was building one down the east coast of Florida, but he hadn't made it this far south. This far south was not Florida, essentially, back at the turn of the 20th century. Until he was sent a little old letter. Now, he was living in New York at the time during the winter, and if you guys have ever been in New York during the winter, you know it's the best. It's the absolute greatest time. You can do so many things like stay inside. It's so many things you can do. It's the best. So Mr. Flagler was living there, assumedly, you know, freezing his assets off. And he was sent a letter by Miss Julia Tuttle. And a note said that, I'm in Miami, please come and find me. And it had a flower, an orange blossom, which is our state flower. Now that's pretty forward for the 1900s, guys, okay? That's pretty flirty. However, it worked. Mr. Flagler was convinced to move that railroad down the east side of Florida, incorporating all of this into Miami, which would become a city in the United States. Now, Miss Julia Tuttle is given the credit of incorporating this land, making her the only woman to incorporate a major city in the U.S. Did you guys hear that correctly? Let's turn that around. That means you're right now traveling through the one city, or should I say major city, in the United States to be incorporated by a woman. Just one, guys, so far. And it happens to be our most beautiful city. Don't think that's a coincidence at all. X on it. Do you guys see that exoskeleton? Built in Dubai. It is meant to be able to withstand anything the wind puts against it, which here in Miami, we have those Miami hurricanes. Not the college team guys, the very real thing. Those hurricanes have made it very difficult for people. We were actually very lucky on this last one. Other towns here in Florida were not so lucky, but Miami can expect to be hit with at least one of those every year. They say hurricane season is 6 months. Miami is a great place, but it does have some challenges. However, buildings like that factor in those heavy challenges using that exoskeleton. That building was designed by Zaha Hadid, British Iraqi architect. They call her the Queen of the Curve. She was one of the most prolific women in architecture, and this building is a great example of that. You can see here, her stylings has earned her a place in Miami's heart as one of the most accoladed architectural pieces.
Everyone, let's give Captain Antonio a big round of applause to get us out of that water.
No, I can't drive my dad's Honda Pilot, but this guy makes it look real easy. Drake as well. Of course, Drake spends a lot of time and money and energy here in Miami, and I actually have a pretty good reason for that. Obviously, Miami is one of the more beautiful places to spend your money. But we also have something that I am proud to be a part of, which is one of the largest Jewish communities in the world. That is Miami, and being that Drake is Jewish, he's just coming home to see his cousins. That's really all it is. I'm basically Drake's cousin, is what I'm trying to say. Called Jungle Island these days. Those of you on the right-hand side, watch those leaves. You're gonna have some branches here. Just do a little bob and weave. You guys know what's going on. And the Japanese Botanical Gardens. If you look on the wall, you guys might see some iguanas. Do we see any today? Crawling around. It's a hot day, and they cannot heat themselves up. They are cold-blooded, so they love it when it's hot. Sometimes when it gets cold, we have a bit of a hazard here, and you'll see it in the Weather Channel. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Frozen falling iguanas. You do not want a frozen iguana falling on top of your new Maybach. That is not the best way to start your Miami residency. Well, usually what happens is they climb up the tree in the middle of the night, they freeze during the night, and then when the right gust of wind comes over, usually right on the new cars as well. I don't know if they aim themselves for that, but it certainly happens. Here we have the Joya Beach Club, one of the beach clubs here in Miami where you can dine directly on the water. Of course, give Miami a couple decades and we'll all be doing just that. Those of you that are laughing are not from Miami. Now, anyone here see Fast and Furious 2? My favorite is Tokyo Drift and the first one. But if you guys take a look out here, you'll see a bridge that they jumped in that movie. They came from downtown towards the Venetian Islands. And if you keep looking to your right, you'll see some of the best downtown has to offer. You'll see the 1000 Place Museum I was pointing out, as well as that stadium. You guys know who plays in that stadium, of course. Your Miami. Miami Dolphins are further north in Hard Rock Stadium. That is your home of the Miami Heat. That's right. Now, for most of my life, that building was called the AAA, American Airlines Arena. We got 3 different championships in my lifetime that I can remember, of course. I'm talking about 2008, Shaq and Dwayne Wade, and of course the back-to-backs with LeBron, Dwayne, and Chris Bosh, and Ray Allen. The buildings that you will see, specifically on your right-hand side, are original Art Decos. Coming from what decade? You guys know? The 1930s. During the 1930s, by the way, guys, this is where Snooki and the crew from Jersey Shore stayed their first time here in Miami. Their second time they stayed in Indian Creek Village. That's on the other side, way north, near Bal Harbor. There are no tours that'll take you there. That's where you got people like Jared and Ivanka, Giselle and Tom, or rather, sorry, Giselle and Tom, DJ Khaled. I'm pretty sure DJ Khaled also has a home down here, but you know him, he probably just said another one. And that's what we do. Now, most of the buildings that you'll see on this side are not over 3 stories. And the reason for that is quite simple. If a building is over 3 stories, especially back then in the 1930s, it needs to have an elevator. And that costs money. It costs money to use elevators, guys. So one of the ways that they were able to get over that cost and build buildings during a time when it wasn't easy to do anything is to build them short. That's not a judgment, just an objective fact. They build them 3 stories or less so you don't have to put in that elevator. That's how they escape the building cost and make it slightly more affordable. And you can see a needle over here on the Essex, as well as those curves, those round edges, as it were. You can see the ledges that are straight above these windows. Those ledges, as well as the Clevelander Sports Bar down here. Those ledges are called eyebrows, because if eyes are windows to the soul, right? Imagine those windows are eyes. Those ledges would look like eyebrows. Now, the purpose for those is not just style, although they are very stylish. By the way, I mentioned the Versace mansion, you guys, right down here on 11th Street. Now, those ledges that you can continue to see, some eyebrows are square, some eyebrows are rounded. That is because until 1947, there was no air conditioning in Miami Beach, South Beach particularly. So, those ledges help stop the direct sunlight from entering the window, give you a slight reprieve from the bright sun of Miami. A different time back then, a different sound. As I mentioned, every decade the theme changed, so disco was obviously very big here in Miami. If you see buildings that are colored in sunshine yellow, baby blue, not pastel light blue, but like your basic blues, most likely they come from that era, the 70s. The 80s is more of a neon color. You guys know that neon blue and pink that is always associated with Miami. That comes with Miami Vice. Miami Vice left us a lot of things, including shoulder pads. You guys remember shoulder pads? We had people going to the club looking like linebackers. Not a good idea. Here's the Lowe's Hotel, the largest hotel on South Beach, the second largest on Miami Beach. Our sign for Lincoln Road. That is where we began our tour. It's also where we end it. Now, where we're driving as we make this turn, it's technically Lincoln Road, but Lincoln Road used to be the main street of Miami, and now it has been changed into a pedestrian walkway. I say now, I mean in the 1960s, of course, because who would have thought a main street would cause traffic, right? Well, Lincoln Road, where you see that giant white bear, it becomes a pedestrian mall. That is one of the places I would definitely recommend you guys go. You guys can walk down there, indulge in over 200 shops, bars, and restaurants. You can even see a show at the Colony Theater on Lincoln Road, which contains the largest bilingual theater company in the US, Miami New Drama. If you come see Anna in the Tropics, the 20th anniversary production, you may see an usher with gray hair who may recognize you from a certain tour that we are finishing up right at this moment. You guys have been so amazing. Please give our captains Antonio and Eli a massive round of applause. And a slightly less massive round of applause for myself, Ari, your tour guide for today. You guys have been incredible. Just a couple more minutes if you guys can remain, or moments rather, not minutes. You guys can remain seated. Our captains will show you the safest way to exit the duck, which is backwards, Navy style.
Wow, that was totally awesome. We hope you guys enjoyed it just as much as we did.
It was a lot of fun. Never been on anything like it. Would have no trouble doing it again. It was a lot of fun. The tour guide, I think it was Ari. He was very knowledgeable and lots of great information. We had a great time.
It was so cool to be able to go on a vehicle that goes in water and on land, like we talked about in the beginning.
Yeah, it was neat because it wasn't that bumpy or scary or anything like that. It kind of smoothly went onto the water, smooth ride on the water. A lot of fun seeing all the beautiful mansions here in gorgeous Miami Beach. Y'all be sure to hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, and ring the notification bell so you come along with us on future adventures.
Come along.